Hi, Scott Stride here. This is part 3 of the 3-part series on the Novadreamer mask. In this series, I'll give you my impressions of the mask, my experiences I've had with it, masks I've built myself, and the features that a dream mask should have. First, I consider the Novadreamer and all dream masks sold so far not to be very reliable. When I say reliable, I mean they don't deliver the cues when they really should, and the dreamer doesn't tend to recognize the significance of these cues if they do arrive at the right time. This is not to say the masks don't work. They can if you follow and diligently practice the exercises, train yourself to recognize the cues. This is not easy and requires a lot of time and patience. I get the impression many people who bought the masks expected immediate results and gave up within a few months of buying them. The fellow I bought mine from had his for a year and only tried it for a month. The makers of the dream masks and the users both share equal responsibility for the disappointing reliability of the product. Personally, the Novadreamer has not helped me to reach lucidity, even though I've used it a lot and made some technical improvements. In fact, on at least 3 occasions it almost ruined a lucid dream in progress. It swamped out my dream vision and I had to wait out the flashes. When I managed to train myself to see the colored flashes and count them while dreaming, this helped me quite a bit. But each time my mind got preoccupied with the flashing light and I forgot what I was supposed to do. That said, I'd like to theorize why the masks are unreliable and explain how the mask can be made more reliable. The first aspect addresses the timing of the cues, the second has to do with recognizing the cues, and the third has to do with awareness training. When a REM dreaming cycle starts, it takes some time for the dream to develop. As most dreamers know, the remembered dreams are either fragments or follow a pattern. Pattern dreams take on the characteristics of a drama. Once this drama becomes well established, it's more difficult to notice dream signs or obvious strangeness. When your mind is fully engaged by the dream story, all the bizarre activity going on is uncritically accepted. At that point, when a light, sound, or vibration cue occurs, the mind is more likely to convert it to conform to the storyline. This has been proven in the lab by LaBerge and his associates in tests with the dreamlight. The conversion of external cues is what Stephen Berlin refers to as a homologous variation. The mind makes the cue fit within the storyline by converting it to something familiar. Typically, this is a variation of some waking experience. This problem needs a solution so the cues can be recognized for what they are, a signal to the dreamer that they are dreaming. One solution is for the cues to be delivered more frequently toward the beginning of the REM cycle, before the storyline is fully developed. It's well known that most dreams occur during REM sleep, which happens in approximately 90-minute intervals. This is shown here in graph 1. The mask software, if coded correctly, could anticipate the onset of REM sleep by analyzing both non-REM eye movements and the passage of time. After some period of low-level eye movement activity, a significant increase would indicate REM dreaming is about to begin. The cues would then be given when REM starts, as seen here in graph 2. The cues should be sent closely spaced apart, as seen here in graph number 3, until the software has determined the user is in full REM sleep. After that, it shouldn't keep sending cues, which may disrupt the lucid dream in progress, and then go back to the mode of just monitoring eye movements and time. The Novadreamer firmware is not complex enough to analyze eye motions and do what I propose. It just counts pulses and sends the cues once the desired count is reached. Cue repetition time is delayed by what is called the refractory period. This is an approximately 4-minute delay between when a cue is delivered and when the next cue is ready to go. Presumably, this is to give the senses time to recover from the first cue. Given the drama aspect of dreams, this delay makes it more difficult to recognize the cues. If you don't recognize it the first time, the odds of recognizing it later decrease. What's worse is if you do become lucid, the cues keep coming every 4 minutes, possibly ruining a nice lucid dream. Cue recognition is also an area that needs improvement. If every time a cue is delivered it gets converted by the mind into something ordinary, then even the best timing system will be a flop. The dreamer must always interpret the stimulus as something specific. This is where training comes in. With the Novadreamer, once I put it on, I spend several minutes repeating the cues and affirming that when I see blue flashing lights, it's a cue signal. For me, this has reduced the problem of homologous variation, so I know it's possible to overcome. But this alone doesn't ensure a transition to lucidity. The setup needs to have the capability to help with situational awareness training. While situation awareness is typically applied to aviation, its basic concepts can be applied to training with the dream mask. The perception of specific patterns of light can be habitually associated with being awake and aware of the environment. This is why a dream mask needs multiple colored lights that can be flashed in a pattern. Training involves memorizing the pattern and automatically associating it with being awake and self-aware. If you see the pattern in a dream, your awareness rises quickly, and a reality test should be done to validate that you are dreaming. When I first heard about the Novadreamer mask, I did not rush out and buy one. At the time, even used ones were quite expensive, and new ones sold for over $1,000. Instead, I read up on it and decided I could build one myself. This was in September of 2004. This was a great experience because I learned a lot about how to build a dream mask and the software to run it. The optical chip I used to measure REM activity was a novel application, so I submitted paperwork through Caltech to get the patent process started. I went on to build 3 prototypes I called LDIS, or Lucid Dream Induction System. My masks only had a sensor and LEDs for the left eye, but they could be designed for both eyes. It also had an earbud connection to play MP3 or WAV audio file cues to the user. Here's a picture of my second prototype mask next to the Novadreamer. Here is a screenshot of the GUI, which was designed using LabVIEW software. Also, here is a detail of eye movements that are recorded with the software. This is a list of the features the preferred mask should have. Number 1, it must be comfortable. You should be able to wear it for several hours, starting at wake back to bed, without losing sleep or breaking the mask. It must have a rechargeable lithium-ion or nickel metal hydride battery. It must have an on-off switch. It does not need to be a standalone unit, but rather have a wireless or tethered connection to a control module. The module is similar in form to a PDA or a BlackBerry. The module must be fully programmable via a USB or wireless interface. It needs at least 3 different colored LEDs for each eye. It needs a smart sensor that can image and measure eyelid motion. It must have a user-friendly and intuitive computer interface for Mac and PC-based systems. Its software must be able to analyze eye movement patterns. It needs a training mode to help learn situational awareness. It needs a 2.5mm audio jack for connecting an earbud for audible cues. As seen in this photo, the Novadreamer is old technology. Electronics, embedded firmware, and computer software have improved considerably in the last 13 years since it came out. All the features I've mentioned can now be applied to the design of a state-of-the-art dream mask that should prove to be much more reliable. 2.5 years ago, I had correspondence with people at the Lucidity Institute, including Dr. LaBerge, about my ideas for a new and improved dream mask. I confidentially shared with Dr. LaBerge many of the technical details of the optical image system for measuring REM and the software involved. This past August, I learned that the Institute has redesigned the mask into a combination Dreamlight and Novadreamer, which implies a tethered design. It was supposed to be demonstrated at the October 2007 Kalani Dream Camp. I've recently learned that it will go on sale in the first quarter of 2008. I have no inside information about this mask, but hope that it will be a big improvement over the past design. In the next tutorial, I will discuss lucid dream supplements. These are legal and safe vitamins, herbs, and over-the-counter supplements that can help positively improve the neurochemistry of the dreaming brain. Farewell.